in Legal Shield. At 28 years old, I'd read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I started to understand passive income, leveraged income. And it made sense to me. And in the book and other trainings from Kiyosaki, the examples were things like life insurance. Well, life insurance sounded good to me, except I never sold anything before. I was broke, and I mean really broke, folks. I'm talking about, like, I didn't eat lunch with the people that I worked with unless I got a tip from the morning deliveries because I didn't have enough money. And we're talking about fast food, by the way, not like, linen tablecloths. Like, they were going to Wendy's and I would say, no, I brought my lunch. And they'd go sit in my car because I didn't have food or money to go to Wendy's. That's how bad it was. And I'm not saying that so anybody will feel bad about me. I just want you to understand, because a lot of people compare where the top income earners are in Legal Shield with where they are right now. I don't think it's appropriate to compare, but if you're going to compare to where we started. That's that. If there's any comparison, it's that. But that was my reality. And every time I tried to be an entrepreneur, I got further and further behind. And finally, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. The life insurance business made sense to me, but I couldn't afford to quit my job and then go into this world of no guarantee of a paycheck. And that's what they were asking me to do. They were saying, this was a company that said, hey, listen, we'll put you in a hotel for 3 weeks and we'll train you to be a life insurance agent. We'll feed you every day and you'll take classes and we'll help you get your license. And at the end of 3 weeks, you'll have a license and you'll know how to do this and you can go out in the field and start earning commissions. Well, during those 3 weeks, yes, they were going to feed me, but I would have been homeless at the end of 3 weeks because I was paycheck to paycheck, day to day, hour to hour, as it was. And I started to realize I can't do this. So then I crossed that off my list. It also in the book said, buy buildings. Like, oh, just buy apartment buildings, then rent those apartments out to people. That's passive income, and you can earn those rents. Yeah, sounds great, but I had a 500 credit score. I mean, my mom co-signed for a Ford Taurus for me so I could have a reliable car. Reliable in quotes, Joe, because that Taurus had 100,000 miles on it when I financed it. I went back and looked. I paid $6,000 for that car on a note, and I was behind on those payments. And then they were calling my mom. I mean, it was just embarrassing. And at 28 years old, none of that is cute. So that was my life. I wasn't buying any apartment buildings, and I couldn't get into life insurance. And then while I was continuing to look, I stumbled upon the opportunity that you and I were all involved in, Legal Shield. And my head virtually exploded because 10 years prior, someone sold me a Legal Shield membership. At 19 years old, it happened to be my lunch break. I was delivering furniture back then too. It was one of my first jobs after high school. The guy walked in, you know what he said? Hey, I've got something I'd like to show you. It'll take about 15 minutes. You may or may not be interested. Hopefully you've all been trained on that approach. That is what was said to me 26 years ago. I said, sure, because we said yes to the Girl Scouts and anybody else who ever came in. Who cares? I didn't know what he had to offer. He showed me Legal Shield and I signed up. I remember thinking, if he says a price I can afford, I'm getting this. Because it just made total sense, because they had reminded us constantly that if we got tickets and lost our license or had our license suspended or whatever, even if those things happened out of work, we were not going to be able to work at that job. They were going to let us go because you had to be able to drive the big delivery truck. So when I heard that this was going to allow me to essentially protect my license, that was the only thing I remember thinking about. I didn't care about wills or anything like that back then because I was single and young and indestructible, right? But when it said it was going to defend my license, I was like, yeah, I'm in it. I signed up. And then not long after that, when I tried to move out of my first apartment, not my first apartment, but my apartment after first becoming a member, that landlord tried to keep my security deposit, told me he wasn't giving it back to me, said a bunch of stuff about wear and tear and all this. And listen, I was working 80 hours a week. I didn't have a wife or a girlfriend. I didn't have a pet. Nobody was wearing or tearing the apartment. He just wanted to keep my security deposit. Maybe some of you have been through that. And so I was frustrated, but I remembered I had signed up for Legal Shield. And I called them to see what their advice would be for me. And they gave me more than advice. They said, Mr. Tanner, we will contact this landlord immediately. And they overnighted a letter to him. This was Feldman, Kramer, and Monaco, because I was in New York when I got started as a member. Feldman, Kramer, and Monaco overnighted a letter. They sent me a copy too. It said that we demand you return our client's security deposit immediately. And I had a bunch of other scary things that they said on it. And that, my landlord, that guy called me the same day he got the letter and said, come and get your deposit. I don't want any problems from your attorneys. I was 19 years old. Now, you know what the best part about that story is, though? I tell this all the time, so you probably heard it, but he was a lawyer. That landlord was a lawyer. And I'd go to his law office that, where he was the owner of this little law firm to pick up my check. That's where I paid my rent every month. I think that's an important part of the story because he did not want any trouble. And he was an attorney. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to fight these guys. He knew that I was represented and I was protected. Well, when something like that happens to you, as a Legal Shield member, you tell other people about it. And I did. And I had other reasons to use it many times because the world continued to try to treat me unfairly, especially when I didn't have any money. And every time I used it, it would go to the front of my mind and I would tell other people about it. Well, over the course of those 10 years, my mom heard about it from me, got a plan. My grandparents heard about it from me, got a plan. Friends, coworkers, people heard about it from me, got a plan. But I was not their selling associate because I wasn't involved in the business. I'd never seen the business. And yet that whole time I was dreaming about being an entrepreneur. Isn't it almost ironic? So when I saw the business a decade after I saw the membership, yeah, I was excited, passive income. I was excited I could build a real business with something I believed in, but I was a little sick to my stomach because I sure could have used that extra income over all of those years that I was getting so far behind. But I think that speaks to the opportunity that we have. People will tell other people about Legal Shield, even if you don't pay them. And that is true for me. And so that's why I'm so excited about our opportunity today, even more than when I got started at 28 years old. But I found what I was looking for: passive income, the ability to stop trading time for money. But more importantly, unlike life insurance, Legal Shield wasn't asking me to quit my jobs and go out on a limb. They were saying I could do this in the time that I had available. That was powerful to me. Unlike the idea of buying real estate, it was so low risk. Yes, it was $249 back then to get started. Yes, I didn't have $249. Had to get behind on some other bills to make that happen. But I just couldn't go any further in my life without making a change. It was like one of those enough is enough, it's time for change moments in my life. And I'm telling you all this because I'm going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff next. So I want you to know where I come from, and so that you don't think that I had the best opportunities growing up. I went to some big fancy Ivy League college. I knew all the right people. My family's not governors and mayors. No one in my family did anything above and beyond blue collar living. There was no entrepreneurs in my family. Legal Shield, I'm built by Legal Shield. And Legal Shield allowed me to change everything in my life. Now I say all that to say this. Let's kind of get into some of these slides, okay? Here's how it changed my life. Well, I told you my credit was terrible. I had no money. Well, I've been able to become a $50,000 ring earner, the $100,000, the $150,000, $200,000 ring. We're closing in on the $300,000 ring. And I'm not saying that to impress you. I just want to contrast where I started with where I'm going. And we've earned over $1 million with our Legal Shield business. But it isn't just about money. I mean, it is when you have no money. I think Kanye West says, money isn't everything. But when you don't have any, well, he says it better than I do. But Kanye's right. If you don't have any money, it becomes very focal in your life. But let's just talk about why it's not everything. This is my daughter, Olive, myself, a whole bunch of other folks. I see Nola, I see the back of Nola, and I see the back of Adam Thompson. We're on the stage in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Grand Ole Opry, looking out at thousands of people, Legal Shield associates. My daughter stood on that stage and basically, had the run of the back of that place, Johnny Cash's dressing room, and played the pianos all over the back of that. And I just think about this picture all the time when I think about our life, because my daughter's life is so totally different than the way I grew up. I saw the world through television and magazines, and I dreamed of seeing the world in person, but that wasn't my reality. I went on an airplane for the first time in my 20s, got my passport in my 30s. But Olive has had a completely different reality. I mean, she's a pro on the airplane. She had been on an airplane dozens of times by her second birthday and continues to go on the airplane all the time and loves it. And it's just another part of her life to see the world. She had her first birthday. Has her passport. She had her first birthday. That's Cancun on the left. When we went to Moon Palace, that's where we celebrated her first birthday. She was 2 in Atlantis at the Bahamas. For a while, her birthday was coinciding with the Performance Club trips from Legal Shield. And then in Jamaica, she turned 3. That's on the left there. And then on the right-hand side, we went to Universal Studios in Orlando when she was around 3.5 or so, I think, if I have that right. The Minions were just huge, like Elvis to her and me, if I'm being totally honest. And we got to meet the Minions, and I got to be the person to provide that for her. So when I say money's not everything, I'm talking about life experiences. You know, it's even really just kind of drives home now more than ever, because again, Legal Shield is so much more than just another way to make money. It's not just another business opportunity. You're talking about lifestyle, time freedom, and the ability to earn an unlimited, uncapped income. Here's a little family totem pole. My wife's not in it because she took the picture, but that's Dee Dee the Bulldog on the bottom, me in the middle, and Olive on top. Just a regular day at our house in Framingham, Massachusetts, because Olive has never known a dad that had to get in a car and go to work. I've never driven out on I-90 East and sat in traffic at 8 o'clock in the morning and driven away from the family I love so much to go to a job that doesn't fulfill me, it doesn't pay me. But you know what? Thousands of people have been doing that every single day for decades here in this area. And then they come home at the end of the day exhausted. And those children, all they want is just a little bit of their dad's and mom's attention. And it is everything those parents can do to give it to them. Not because they don't want to, but because their employers and their situations just extract every bit of juice that they can from them. And most families get what's left over, but my family gets the best of me every day. And that's why I say it's not about money. Here's Danielle and I, we are recording our podcast, the Empowered Entrepreneur Podcast, which we did a season of. We're going to do another season of very soon. I don't know if anybody needs to hear what we have to say, but we say it anyway. People seem to like it, and we have a lot of fun doing it. It's a way for us to do something together to contribute and pay forward the opportunities that have been given to us. On the right-hand side, that's Danielle and I in Cabo, where we had a little bit of a vacation. Last year, we went to Cabo San Lucas, walked around in the downtown, had a blast. Here's, again, you know, it's not always about money. Here's us with our family in Legal Shield, our friends, and I see Bill Sharon in that picture. Bill is the first person I ever recruited. You know what? Bill is living his dream life. He's retired on Legal Shield residual income. He has a rural home in Georgia. He was born and raised in Vermont. I knew him forever. He was my first recruit. All he ever wanted to do was buy a home in the South where it wasn't winter, have his little home with chickens and animals, and that's what he has. And he gets paid every week from business that he did and the team he built over the last few years with Legal Shield. And you see Mike Melia and Kurt Jones and so many of my friends from Legal Shield there. And there's Adam and Alicia Thompson. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them in a second, but they're Danielle and I's best friends. We met them through this business. They happen to be in our downline, but I just can't imagine having never met them, because we're so much, our lives are so much richer because of those relationships. And I just think about all of the people I know. There's me and Scott Brooks. Scott came into this business. I'll tell more about his story in a second. Me and Mark and Mike Riches, these guys have been great mentors for me. Our team, and just fun. Jack Canfield. I had never read a book after high school till I was 28 years old. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then because of Legal Shield, I started reading. And that was just great because I was able to borrow this information and glean all of this insight from people that had lived these exceptional lives and were willing to write it down. But now I know these authors. These are people who I can stand next to and get a picture of whose phone numbers are in my phone. I can call and text them, and it's just unbelievable, the richness of this life that you lead with a successful Legal Shield business. So let me get you back to this purple map. Like I said, I was born in Rutland, Vermont. I just want you to pay attention to this, because so many people say, well, you can't build it in Massachusetts. And I know in a lot of ways the company points to me and Danielle to refute that. But I wonder how many people know how we built this massive multi-million-dollar Legal Shield business from the place where it's supposed to be so hard, right? Isn't it supposed to be harder here? You have to get a license here. You have to take a test here, all the stuff that maybe even your leaders are telling you. because they want to be encouraging, but they also want to be transparent. But I didn't start my business here. I was living in upstate New York when I became a member. I was back in Vermont when I became an associate. And I moved to Massachusetts as a director, and I'd already started earning a part-time income with Legal Shield. And I decided when I met my wife, we hadn't yet been married, but it was around 2012, that I wanted to marry this woman and start a family. And most importantly, I needed a real career. It was time to grow up, honestly. And so I looked at all of my options, which were few, and I realized it was time to put Legal Shield on the front burner. And the way I did that was I started to focus on how I could build an international business, because I recognized from my mentors that I didn't have a business that happened to be wherever I was standing. I had a 50-state business in the US, and back then 4 provinces in Canada. Today, all of Canada, all of the US and the UK. Isn't it powerful what we have? But how do you do it? Or more importantly, what does it look like? Because it's one thing to say millionaire club member, multiple 6-figure annual income earner. It's one thing to just say, well, he has a lot of people on his team, but I don't think that gets to the heart of it. And that's why I wanted to do this training for you this evening that I do at Super Saturdays, because everybody is always so curious, and they make up their own stories in their curiosity about how I did it. When I first got my 6-figure ring, a whole bunch of people told me the story of how I did it. It was always so fascinating. I'd meet new people and they'd say they knew how I did it and they had different ideas, and none of them were right. People thought I did it through business solutions, opening groups and enrolling the employees. Not true. Now, I happen to have a lot of people on my team that do that, but I never did it well. I opened a couple of groups. They were colossal failures. I never enjoyed it. I was intimidated by the whole process. I was intimidated by people who made more money than me and owned businesses, and it was just a disaster for me personally. But when I started to meet the people that had the big teams and had the big lifestyles and had the freedom and everything that Legal Shield promises, what I realized that they had done was they had built a team, and they didn't just build it in their backyard, they built it internationally. So let me tell you the story of my team, because the story of my team, and this is just a snapshot of some of my team, but this story is my story too. Let's take a look first in California. Here's Danielle Hall. Danielle Hall's in California. She's a $50,000 ring earner. She's protected 533 families as of the last time I updated these slides, which was not today, by the way. So these numbers are conservative for what you're going to see today. I love Danielle's story because she is a teacher. She loves being a school teacher. She's not trying to stop being a school teacher. But every spring, she would always look for something she could do part-time to supplement through the summers, because she loved being a school teacher. And one year, somebody in our team happened to show her Legal Shield, and she got involved, and she started protecting families. And now, as a part-time income, earns an additional $50,000 per year. And let me ask you a question. Do you know any teachers that could use an extra $50,000 per year without quitting teaching because they love to teach, without having to make a drastic change in their lives because they love what they're doing? I would say yes. And if you don't know, if nobody comes to your mind immediately, I'll bet you know someone that does know a teacher, because I didn't recruit Danielle Hall. That happened somewhere in my organization. Let's stay in California, going to Southern California, to Rebecca Baker, 2,513 families protected. She's also a $50,000 ring earner. Rebecca was an international flight attendant, crisscrossing the globe. And then there had been a very sudden shift in her situation at home, and she needed to be home. She couldn't be on an airplane in Germany or France. She had to be home, and she was wondering what she was going to do. And somebody showed her this Legal Shield service, an opportunity. And she got started protecting families, and now earns a full-time income part-time from home. She has said to me famously many times that she goes out and does business and protects families and opens groups and writes memberships when she needs money to pay her bills or to go on vacations. And the rest of the time, she focuses on being a mom. So she's a full-time mom, a full-time parent, and a part-time Legal Shield independent associate, making $50,000 per year. Let's go to Indiana. I think your map should show Indiana on there. Yep, I'm seeing it. Here's Gail Ross. Gail Ross is burned out in the corporate world. She was selling corporate recognition systems. She's protected now 1,287 families, $50,000 ring earner. Loves Legal Shield, loves her membership, and loves sharing it with other people. And mostly spends her time in semi-retirement while also protecting families and earning a great income and building a massive passive income, by the way, also not just advanced commissions, but residuals on all of that book of business, because she writes great business that stays on the books. Let's go to Georgia. So then we've got Mr. Jim Crump. He's about to cross over 1,000 families protected. He's a $50,000 ring earner. Again, corporate America, sales professional. Someone showed him our business. He was looking for something he could do different. He had never had passive income before and recognized that that was missing from his life. Loved the membership when he saw it, loved it more when he used it, and started telling people about it. And he, again, builds this business part-time, has a little team as well, builds the business part-time while he's living his best life. Down in Alabama, we had a company, it's an enrollment company, 799 families in one day in Alabama. They had a client, one of their clients that they do health insurance for, had an identity theft, identity breach, or a breach of some kind, and wanted to protect all of their employees and pay for ID Shield for all the employees. They ended up getting them legal and ID Shield for 799 families, and they paid for it for a year. I got, in my business, 799 sales in one day. It was December that year. I remember it was a great time of year between Christmas and the New Year to have that come in for us in the business. And that's just for one enrollment group. And then we have my friends Adam and Alicia Thompson. Hopefully this isn't boring to anybody. I just want you to see, the reason I use the map is because, am I in Massachusetts? Yeah. Does it matter if I'm in Massachusetts? Absolutely not. I don't need a Massachusetts license to override any of this business. I didn't need a Massachusetts license to help any of these people get their membership. I didn't need it to recruit them. And every time one of these families protects another family with Legal Shield and ID Shield, they earn a commission. My family earns an override, and the license has nothing to do with that. Here's my friends Adam and Alicia Thompson, 2,734 families, closing in on $1 million in total income. They're $200,000 per year earners. Listen, Adam was on public assistance, trying to raise his son. He just met Alicia. They weren't yet married. And he was working more than full-time, running a Cracker Barrel restaurant, and couldn't make ends meet. You would think too busy to see this business. But Kurt Jones, who's in my team, an insurance agent in Dallas, I'm going to tell you how this all happened, but showed this to Adam Thompson. Adam Thompson said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Got plugged in and changed his entire life. Now has the dream home. We just stayed with them in December, a dream home that they bought out in the country in Kentucky. And they're, again, living a dream life with their incredible Legal Shield business. So where are we going to go next? Oh yeah, how about Scott Brooks in South Carolina? Scott came into the business $1 million in debt, 3,874 families protected personally. He was $1 million in debt when he got here, made $100,000 his first year, $250,000 his second year, and $1 million in 4 years with his Legal Shield business. Now, I just want to keep reminding everybody, when we say, well, I live in Massachusetts, how am I going to build it here? I don't have a license. You don't need a Massachusetts license to recruit Scott Brooks and override 3,874 families. I'll just do a few more. This is San Antonio, Texas, Sheila Carmen, 1,482 families. And I know that number is not right because she just put in a bunch of business today. $50,000 ring earner, goes on every trip, loves her business. She was running a home-based franchise, and it was kind of like edible arrangements, Joe and everybody, but it wasn't that. It was like cookies. It was like cookie bouquets, and she had this big business. And then the company that she had the franchise from was sold to a different company, and they decided they didn't want to do franchises anymore. So they closed out all the franchise agreements and just left her stranded. She had built all of these customers, and she didn't know what she was going to do next. And then somebody in our team showed her Legal Shield. She saw the opportunity in getting started, got started with us, and got to work and replaced her income, still works from home, protects families with her Legal Shield business, and has built a massive business, and she's totally in control. And then we could just keep doing this all day. We're not going to do it for the sake of time, but I'll throw a few people up here. Remember I was talking about Bill, 600 personal sales, Jim Harrell in California, 553. Evan Brooks in South Carolina, over 500. And you see, Josh Samick in California, Rose Barker in Oregon, Blake in Florida, Frank Merritt in Oregon. We can just keep doing that. Tim Blodgett, Robert Bartholomew. And look at the states: Texas, Iowa, South Carolina, Missouri, California, Georgia. When you look at it like that, now here's all of these people, I just put the dots in for them, and then here's everybody who's protected between 100 and 200 families. And I know where a lot of these people are: Sharon Blau's in Iowa, Jason Millman's in South Carolina, Bill Maxwell's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Bill Fian's in New Jersey, Josh Starnes is in South Carolina, SLR Communications, that's my friend C-Suk in New Hampshire. Financial Blueprint Design is in Oregon. I guess I don't know where they all are. Jeremy Jordan's in Vermont. Lloyd Watkins is in Northern California. Larry Smith is in the Woodlands in Texas. These are people protecting families with Legal Shield, none of them in Massachusetts. And so that's what that looks like. And then, this is just another example. I just added the more dots for people that have written between 50 and 100 plans, and they're all over the country. Here's what that's done for us: 35,000 families protected. We're $200,000 ring earners. We happen to be in Massachusetts. Yes, I have a Massachusetts license, so I can market Legal Shield memberships in my state. But hopefully you can see that has nothing to do with the success that we've had. And that picture is us in Iceland. We qualified to go with the Platinum World Council on their trip to Iceland, and it was phenomenal. And we had so much fun. And just, if you ever get a chance to go to Iceland, go to Iceland. But if you ever get a chance to have Legal Shield pay for it and make it a VIP experience, do that instead, because that was awesome. So let me just wrap this up, because I said I was going to get us done by the top of the hour. Why build a team? Well, here in Massachusetts, we could say, well, we want to get this business outside of the state because of the license or whatever. It doesn't really matter, though, because if you recruit your next door neighbor who's in Massachusetts with you, they still have a business where they can do what I just showed you we've done. You build a team to access new markets and access diverse talents and areas of focus. And here's what I mean by that. When you recruit and you build recruiting into your business, meaning you're not just recruiting, but that's duplicating through your team, now you're recruiting people, and here's what shows up: talent, people with experience. I have salespeople in my team. I have PhDs in my team. I went to high school, but not college. I've got 8 PhDs that I know of, not counting my wife. You get the diverse talents of people that are used to working with truck drivers, or used to working with teachers, or used to working with real estate agents or whatever. And you know what they do? They go and they protect real estate agents or truck drivers, or, they go into those markets that make sense to them. You access new markets. How many executive directors are you going to have at the end of this year in Chicago, in Sacramento, in Dallas? You can think of your business that way. Yes, it can supplement your income. Yes, it can earn you an extra $500 to $1,000 or $2,000 a month from home, and you can catch up your bills like I did. But it can also make you a millionaire, not through magic or luck, but because that's our business model. If you just go out and you share the Legal Shield story every day, it will land on good people. And as it lands on good people and those seeds grow, it will duplicate around the country. And you can leverage your time and you can pay it forward. And I think paying it forward doesn't get enough play, really. I mean, think about how you got in this business. Somebody thought enough of you to show this to you. And you can say, okay, yeah, duh, right? Obviously, somebody thought enough to show it to me. That's why I'm here. Yeah, but let's go back. Because you ever been afraid to show it to somebody? Or did you ever show it to somebody and they treated you poorly? Maybe that's happened to you. It's happened to me. So let me say it to you like this. After someone treated them poorly and they were afraid to do it, and they still thought enough of you to show it to you, that can't, just in good conscience, we can't let that end with us. We have to pay that forward. Somebody thought enough of me to show it to me. Someone thought enough of you to show it to you. We've got to pay that forward. Shame on us if it ends with us, is what I like to say. So that's why you build a team. And by the way, get busy people on your team, because busy people are the best prospects for our business. I promise you they are. I have tried to recruit people with plenty of time. They like having plenty of time. They don't want to add anything to their time. They love playing video games and staring at televisions and staring at their phone. Let them do that. Go talk to busy people. The people you think are not interested are the best prospects for your business. But they want a system, not a project. So show them our system, and our system is simple. Step 1, expose somebody to the business with a third-party tool. Step 2, follow up with them, see what they like best about what they saw and learned. Step 3, put them on the phone with somebody that can answer their questions, and then sign them up and then teach them that system. Listen, if it was any more complicated than that, I wouldn't be the one on the webinar. It would have to be somebody else, because if it was complicated, it wouldn't have worked for me. So they want a system, not a project. Also, busy people understand the value of their own time. So get to the point. If you're going to open the door to somebody taking a look at Legal Shield, and they're a real estate agent, insurance agent, sales professional, business owner, get to the darn point. Say this: do you at all keep your options open when it comes to earning extra income outside of what you're already doing in real estate? They will appreciate you being direct instead of beating around the bush. And if they're not interested, move on to the next person. And if they are interested or open to taking a look at something, show them our business. Let them see a video. Let them learn about the power of what we do. And remember, it isn't enough for it to work, it has to duplicate. And I know I said I'm going to be fast, so let me just go through why duplication matters. Remember I talked about Adam and Alicia Thompson, Joe, and everybody? Remember I said they're $200,000 ring earners. Adam was working 80-hour weeks. You know, the victory is not I found a producer. The victory is not that I earn an override on those 2,734 families. The victory is that Adam got to change his life by protecting those 2,734 families. That's the victory. That is the victory. But how did this business find Adam? Like this. When I was living in Vermont, I shared this business with my friend Bill Sharon, and I didn't think he was going to want to get started because he had done another business with me where we were attempting to sell live event sponsorships to local businesses in Rutland, Vermont, and it failed spectacularly. And so I didn't think he was going to want to do anything else that I had as an idea. But because in my Fast Start class, they said, don't prejudge, make a list and don't prejudge. I listened to my trainer. He was at the top of my list, Bill. I asked him to take a look. He did, and he wanted to do it with me. He recruited a lady in Minnesota. She recruited a lady in West Virginia. The lady in West Virginia recruited Kurt Jones, who had just moved to Texas, an insurance agent from Idaho that she knew, or she knew someone he knew. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. But he had just moved from Idaho, where he had a successful insurance business, and he moved to Texas to take care of his aging mother who had Alzheimer's, and he had to take care of her. So he left where he was licensed. He left his business behind to take care of his mom, and he was looking for what he was going to do instead. And he saw this business and he got started, and he also saw the power of building a team, and he shared it with Adam and Alicia Thompson, and that's why they're in the business today. Now the question is, did I know that when I invited Bill Sharon for a cup of coffee and a piece of pie to talk about joining Legal Shield with me? No, I didn't even know he knew people in Minnesota. I didn't know that the person in Minnesota knew someone in West Virginia, and so on and so on. But that's how this business grows, because you do what duplicates, not just what works. So what duplicates? Make a list of everyone you know and stop prejudging those people, please. Not for your sake, but for their sake. Because the people on that list deserve a choice. They deserve to know about this opportunity, and they deserve a chance to choose whether or not they move forward with us. Make a list of everyone you know. Invite the people on that list to learn more. Please, again, don't prejudge them. Follow up with the people if they don't sign up immediately. I think we all think that everybody that sees the video is going to come running towards us with their credit card out. It's just not what happens. There's a lot of people who are interested that will never call you back, that will never follow up with you at the end of a Zoom or after a video if you don't call them. You know how many times I talk to somebody and I say, what did you like best of what you saw on the Zoom today? And they tell me what they liked, and I say, well, do you see an opportunity for yourself? And they say, yeah, I do. And I say, are you ready to get started? And they say, yes, I am. And I always think, well, why didn't you call me first? But here's the deal. They're not going to. You've got to follow up with them. And you have to ask for referrals. So I recruited the guy that recruited Scott Brooks. And he was also in Minnesota, different situation, just happened to be the same state as my last example. But here's how I recruited the guy that recruited Scott Brooks. I was trying to recruit a real estate agent, and that real estate agent was not interested. And I said, well, who do you know that I can talk to? Because I do need somebody. And he said, well, you got to talk to my friend Chuck, because he knows how to do this kind of a business. And if he's interested, he'd be really good for you. So the guy that wasn't interested introduced me to somebody else who happened to be very interested. And not only that, but he became a six-figure income earner and a Millionaire Club member. He recruited Scott Brooks and several other big producers, plays golf more than anything right now. I didn't even include him in the list. But because I asked for a referral, it didn't end with the person who wasn't interested. So ask for referrals. And I'll just leave you with this slide. Do you want a business that looks like this when you're done building your Legal Shield business, when you're pausing and taking care of your family, when you're relaxing and watching the income come in? Or do you want a business where you tell your friends, well, it would have been great, but I'm in Massachusetts and you need a license. Well, it would have been great, but it's harder to get started here in Massachusetts. Well, you know, if I was in New Mexico or Texas or Florida, then it would have been different. The reality is we're here. And I think because we're here, we're a better position than any other associate anywhere else in the country to build a massive professional group of international elite associates, because it makes more sense from here. Because we don't have the luxury of being lazy and just recruiting people in our backyards like they do in other places. So we can develop the skills to talk to people and follow up with them internationally. And oh, by the way, it just so happens, and I'll just stop sharing my screen here. It just so happens, Joe, that in addition to all of that, the whole world went virtual. What used to be this unique, like, try to get it in front of somebody that doesn't live next to you, that we would say, you know, talk to two people every day and once a week talk to somebody long distance, all the borders are gone. All of those lines are erased. Because of COVID-19 and because of technology in general, we can talk to people anywhere and everywhere, anytime and all the time. And ultimately, it just comes down to whether or not you and I are willing to do it. Joe, I'll turn it back over to you for the last words. I know it went a little longer than I intended to, but hopefully that was valuable.
Thank you. It absolutely was. And I love this reminder. You know, like you said, the barriers are down right now. Our whole entire country, everybody's going through reinvention, right? We're coming on that time of the year where we have to decide, are we sending our kids to school? Are people, what are they doing about their jobs? What's happening? Like you said, the educators out there, what's going on for them? What decisions are they making about those next steps? We are in this very unique place where it's not one group or one specific type of person. Everybody's in this place. And so we have 50 states, we have all of Canada, we even have the UK. We have someone in our larger deaf team who's starting to build a huge team out in the UK. And so you can do that from home. You can find a way to reinvent yourself. If you're looking for that inspiration, if you're looking for someone to believe in you, how about this? We're just going to just look at you right now and just say, we believe in you. We got you. And if you're feeling a little insecure, you're feeling like, okay, maybe I'm ready to do something, whether it's 1 hour or 5 hours or 10 hours a week. The LegalShieldCalendar.com is filled with trainings, filled with opportunities. If you're looking for someone just to be what I call like be your Sherpa, reach out to one of us. Let us just have a conversation and get you back on that plan and in that mindset. And again, just like Jim says, and he says often, it's a gift. We have something that somebody needs. Somebody in my world had something that I needed. And had they not told me, I wouldn't be here. And I'm in the same boat with Jim, where I get to spend day in, well, now with COVID, day in and day out, but I get to spend time with my family and watch my teenager grow up minute by minute. And that is an immense joy. Maybe you're looking for something else in your life. And so the reality is about, again, what we're doing here is we're transferring belief. And you can borrow ours if you need a little bit, but also the belief in yourself that we have something that's so amazing that is nationwide in other countries. And you could, one sale a day, one sale a month, whatever that is, you're able to protect families. You're able to do good and do well. And with that, I say to you all, have a fantastic night. Tonight, the Facebook stream didn't work, so it's going to be recorded, and then it'll be transferred over there. I'm hoping that we can continue to build our Thursday nights, or if people are seeing this at another time, welcome to it. Again, Jim, you are, as always, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story, so many stories. And I want my map to look like that as well. And actually, I was thinking about creating that list and putting the 50 states and then just starting to add the names and have my, and think in those ways, like, all right, well, who do I know in New Jersey? Who do I know in Arkansas? And just start filling those lines. So thank you so much for your inspiration. I hope that you know that this inspiration, I'm sure you guys are out there doing it too, and you inspire us. We'll see you here next week on Thursday. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.